Masters Week review. New grip in town. Lots of work done, lots of fittings accomplished. So let's talk about all that. What's in my drawers golf talk next. Welcome back to the McGolf Shop. Jim McCleary here, 6-time top 100 best club fitter with Golf Digest. And we're in the fitting room, and you see the background's not so blown out because there's massive storms running through the area for like the next 3 days. So yeah, it's going to be wet and nasty. However, warmer, so not too bad. Why do we call it What's in My Drawers Golf Talk? Because old club makers and club fitters are tremendous pack rats. And that's what we talked about, the stuff that was in the drawers in my shop. And it's turned into quite the little golf discussion of golf gears, fittings, opinions, repairs, you name it. We talk it if it's golf gear. And a few other topics always sneak in, and you'll see that today. So, again, welcome back. I hope everybody enjoyed the Masters. It's not like I got to look it up on my phone to figure out who won. It was all over the map. I did get to see I saw him tee off, and then I walked away for a couple of holes and to do some work, and then came back. And apparently I missed a couple of, shots across the bow with some good shots, and then some return shots across the bow with some other shots. But I stayed and watched the, I'm going to say from about hole 9 to about hole 14 or 15. And I figured about that time frame, it was pretty much done. But I went out and put the ear pods in and started mowing the lawn prior to all this rain and listened to him finish. So not too bad. Tell me what you guys thought. Did you like the coverage? Because the whole thing with these guys from the Masters is that they were really, really touting their social media presence and an extra, the extra facilities and things like that as far as getting the word out to the watcher that couldn't make it there. I thought that the weather couldn't have been any more perfect, and it was all up to the guys. Now, neither one of those guys have won a major, and you could see the pressure just absolutely caving in on them as far as drivers were concerned. If you noticed, about halfway through the round, neither one of those guys could find the fairway. However, their recovery, they were leaning heavy on their iron shots, and Scotty just basically he was cool, calm, and collective. Now, he did make some pretty clutch putts, some pretty cool chips that were next to it, while Cameron, he'll lean better on it next time, and hopefully we'll see him at the winner's circle. So let's see that. So another thing is a new grip has hit us, and it is the new Golf Pride CPX. They say it's the softest, and it even says it right on here, I think. Softest performance feel. Softest performance feel. It says it right there. And if you look, obviously there is some serious texture to this. You get the, this is the top of it where your thumb would go, like not like that, right onto the top. Okay. And then on the side, it's got this super duper texture. I don't know, like little seeds across the side, almost like an alligator skin. I don't know what you want to call it, but it runs along the side here on the back, got that little bit there, and then along the side there. And the other thing that's different that I've noticed is that the opening normally has some sort of circle or giveaway, and this appears to be longer. So it's a little bit of a different look. Nice blue cap, comes in all three of their major sizes, standard, mid, and jumbo. And if it's going to be super duper soft, most people worry about this. All right, is that twisting? And I haven't put it on a stick yet, so I can't tell you. But if they're talking soft performance, that's one of the things that they're trying to get away from. That's the whole reason for the CP in the back right here, from about here back underneath this plastic, is their core. Okay, and that's the CP, the core performance or something along that lines. Anyway, that's to prevent it from doing a lot of that. It's firm right here, and then it's the texture of the grip right there. So if you see it out there, put it in your hand, see what you think. As far as I know, this is the only color it's coming in is the gray. Gray tends to be that color that fits just about everybody's. It doesn't make anybody upset. So that's right down the middle. So good for them. So that's a good thing. In the shop, we have been very, very busy. Did some fittings all through the weekend. Had a gentleman from Uniontown, Pennsylvania, came all the way from Pennsylvania. I'd like to say he came all the way from Pennsylvania to see me, but his son, who saw us earlier on, he's a motivational speaker, and in fact, he gets on here every once in a while. And then this is his father-in-law, so I'm sure he was visiting the family. But I'll claim it. Just a wonderful individual, good guy, and just a really great attitude to be really great for golf. And then we fit a 16-year-old, and just the biggest string bean you ever wanted to see, and arms as big as an albatross, and was doing real good, and switched to a set of irons, and all of a sudden he couldn't control them. And as it turns out, he's a fairly aggressive swinger, even at 16. And the clubs are a little bit too long. They're a lot a bit too weak. And then they had way too much offset. And on average, and I'm going to put this will have a star next to it. A caveat is that on the average, when we fit him, I gained him 30 yards on the irons. Now, there's a caveat with that. And that's the reason why I'm telling you, because as a fitter, you need to bring out all the information so they know it, as opposed to a sales tool. Although I guess it is. What we do is we hit 3 shots, and we typically hit maybe 4 or 5. And what I'll do is I will remove the ones that are just awful, so that we have a good average of what to expect, because everybody can hit a bad shot, everybody can hit a good shot. Now, if in the middle of all this they're just hitting all kinds of bad shots, we'll just take that from them and go, okay, that one's out of the mix. We're not looking at that one. And then we'll go back and forth and try a few things in order to nail down the combination that really is what we're looking for. And in this particular instance, he hit 2 what I will call decent shots, and then 1 just really complete flub. However, every time I tried to get him to hit another shot, they were all flubs, and they were worse. And I was like, well, I had him hit 6 shots, and I took out all the rest of them, and that's what's remaining. I said, now, on average, if we did our math, this is what we're seeing is 35 yards. However, even if you take out the flub shot and we just use those other 2 as an average, and the distance gained was still in the 15 to 20 yard range. So, and the dispersion was like that. And that's really the key, right? So we gained him a lot of distance, gave him a lot of, tighten up his dispersion, gave him a lot of confidence in going into there, so he can really vie for the number 1 slot. And that's what it was all about. Quite fun. So intriguing guys all the way through the weekend. It was really a lot of fun. And that was the bit. And so we'll get started here. So if you guys haven't seen it, there's the video out. Matter of fact, as we're talking about it, like and subscribe if you would, please. Like and subscribe here. And if there's a little notification bell, hit that. And that way you get all these notifications when I put something out to the community or when the next video comes out. However, those guys, all right, the Wilson forged, the E9 forged. If you guys looked and you looked at the video, you'll find that there's a reason why people spec clubs. That's the reason why they spec clubs. I was doing the testing and I was hitting it. I was hitting it well, just it wasn't as long as some of these other 6 irons I've tested. And I just knew in my heart that I should be going further. And this is the first time I really haven't spec'd the irons. And so I went back and I spec'd this one iron I was looking at, and it ended up being weak, and significantly weak. pardon me, by about 3 degrees, which 2 I'll accept, 3's outside the bounds. So I put it back, came back out here, and I gained like 9 yards. I went from a mid to high 180s, like a 188, to a 197 to 198. So 9, 10 yards. And the quality hit went up. Everything just got better. So yeah, but it's a nice iron. People are really gravitating towards them. They tend to work. It's a good looking club. I can't say enough about it. Now, there's a lot of other ones out there as well. So I want you to get tested, but I have to say that this thing is going to vie for a top iron for the year. So keep your eyes peeled. All right. So at the beginning of the week, we had that. 2 different sets of clubs. If you can see down at the bottom, one's a lefty and one's a righty. All right. And so this is the beginning of that set that you saw that was in the front, right in the front, or in the back. So here's the front of it. This set's going to Canada, I think. And they were Srixons. So we have reshafted a portion of these irons once before. He had these left over, and that's what we put on them. Not bad, right? And we put I think we had no picture of the grip. We put a nice red MCC4 on there. It looked really good when it was all said and done. So now the other one has those Project X's in them. Let's see if I can find those guys. Has right here, I think. If it wasn't there, it was a set of. Let's see if I can make there we go. Nope, that wasn't them either. It was another set. I think it was another set of Srixons, maybe. Not those. It was another set of Srixons that went with the Project X's, and we fine-tuned them and got them out, and that was a pretty good thing. Now, sitting on my bench right now, or sitting on the drying rack right now, is 2 sets of PXGs, one of which is the video coming up in their boxes to builds, and it talks about blueprinting and what blueprinting means and what we do to obtain that, and which leads me into another segment of talking about these things. Is I'm starting to see a lot about OEM quality of builds. We talked about it last week about Mizuno struggled on one that I had to do. I've got one more in there, and now I got a PXG, of which, so the golfer ordered a standard length with a light graphite shaft and wanted a D0 swing weight, which is not unobtainable, and particularly with a smaller grip. Okay. However, what the builder did, and a lot of OEMs do this, and that's the reason why I'm telling you this, so you can check, is that when you go to graphite, the standard length for a graphite sometimes is a 1/2 inch longer. Now, we see that a lot with distance clubs. They'll make them a 1/2 inch longer just so that you might be able to get that extra turn, and every once in a while you just zing one and you go, oh, look at me hit it further. However, I think this guy specifically asked for a specific length at a 5-iron, and they went into automatic mode and just added the 1/2 inch to the length in order to get their swing weights. However, in one of the irons, it was significantly lower. It was even out of a tolerance that I think that they would even have. And when I took them all apart, the shafts were in line, the grips were in line, and this head was easily 5 to 6 grams light. So it's a outlier. So either they forgot to put the weight behind the badge, or it was just a light head. And just so happens the guy that ordered it has got club making equipment and realized that was too light. So he asked me to try and fix it. Well, I got him down to the right length, and I got him into the right swing weight for all those other clubs, save that light one, because it just takes too much weight and it just overrides. It'll override the way that the club is designed, and we just don't want to do that, right? You want it to play like it's supposed to. So I called him, and he thanked me for it, and we got all the rest of them in line. So now I just got to finish some ferrules and put the grips back on, so we should be good there. Alrighty, so there's my OEM build thing. Let's see. Hey, we got some of these going out. Did a lot with putters this weekend too. This is the the Model 10 two ball. I just put in the Model 11 two ball and a couple other putters out there that were. It was just really fun doing putter fittings as part of these full fittings and just watching the guys sink the golf balls. It's really a lot of fun. Alrighty, moving on. Here's was an interesting one. If we look at this, a gentleman sent me some LA Golf. I think this is going to Tennessee. LA Golf. These things are X-Flex 70 gram. I mean, this is just a brutish set. And doesn't go with them. Doesn't go with them. It goes with them. There it is. Yep, so it goes with them. So these are the Mizuno 223s, and they have some True Temper Tour Issue 7s. And if you guys know what that is, those are the shafts for the Gorilla. The guy very, very, very aggressive like swing. There we go. And we got the BB&F ferrules that go on there. And they did okay. One of them I'm not real happy with, but it was close. And I'm not sure why it looked cockeyed, but to me it did. The rest of them came out really, really nice. So we got that. And then single length. Finally. This one has been a long time coming since basically November. Talk about supply chain issues, right? So we've got single length and all the irons, single length and the hybrids to match, and then a slightly shorter version in the wedges, just like he asked. There's a little closer view of it. He's got a 4 and a 5. We checked it out. They were actually in very good shape. And we put the Jumbo Max on it. I made this gentleman a set of the Sterlings in the first generation, and I think he's really, really going to like this generation. There's more of what they look like. And we put those Patterson single link shafts in it. Now, I really like the single link shafts from there because he's got 3 different sets for the tall middle, or the tall end, the middle, and the bottom end, in order for the club to work a little bit more like normal, even in single length. So I really like that. It's a sheet wrapped inside, filament wound on the outside, so you get that level of consistency, yet you still get a little bit of feel transmitted. So not bad. I mean, these are really nice shafts, so I would go with that. And then, of course, we always got to talk about what we cooked on the weekend, while the Masters weekend. Some ribbage. We did 2 of them with 2 different barbecue sauces. Right there. That's the All-American barbecue. And man, it was good stuff. The other one is a local guy that does pretty good. Now, for Mr. Broderick, if he's out there, if he's listening or whatever, he'll like this. This is what we celebrated my dad's birthday with. And look at the bottom right there. Look at what that last line says. Yahoo! Wow, I've never gotten foggy taking a sip of something like that before, but I did. I got foggy, that's for sure. It was something else. Oh my goodness. So we survived, but thank you, Joe. Ooh-wee. New stuff. Okay, so we got through all that. More of the fittings are going well, the builds are going well, the videos are going well, and we keep seeing new stuff. It's really kind of cool, and with new grips, the new shafts. It's coming right along. I'm just waiting for this whole thing to settle out. I think it'll be fun. All right, let's go look at some stuff. There's Mike from Buffalo. Got my first on-course swings with the new ST Pro Hybrid. Loving the club. Scores are not very good at 41, 42, but it's early. Oh yeah. Well, you're still fighting cold. You're still fighting wet. But the Pro model is very nice, isn't it? It just sits really nice to the eye for somebody who likes something that is square, and it really does pretty good. Matt, no rounds for him. Was in Indianapolis for the Sun Soccer Tournament. Were you down there? It was at the stadium that's ran by the oil company. It's just right there in downtown. That's a nice place. They lost the final. No questions today. Oh, happy Easter, everyone. Okay. And he's off to Memphis in 2 weeks. His young son must be quite the soccer player. Pardon me. One thing about Southern Ohio, when the weather changes, man, if you've got allergies, if you got anything, you're going to figure it out here real quick because it's like to the nth degree over here. Okay. Seb, what flex and brand of shaft would you put someone who swings around 86 mile an hour on TrackMan with a fast tempo? Seb, so we're going to assume a driver. Okay. We're going to assume a driver. So two things. Number one, at 86, you would be what would be at the very top of the mid to upper part of the A flex range. All right. However, with you being a very very aggressive swing, I would probably bump you into the regular flex range. Now, aggressive is a fast tempo, as you say. All right, with a fast tempo, would probably want something maybe just a hair over, uh, depending on where you're at, right? A hair over standard, meaning that if 50 gram or 55 gram was the norm, maybe 60, 65 gram, as the case may be. That's so you can find it back here when you're bringing it through. But I wouldn't go crazy on the flex. Okay. If you're older, maybe stay in a regular flex in the lighter just so you can bring it around. And there's all kinds of I'm sorry. Oh, there is all kinds to choose from. And so I'm going to stay, obviously, I'm going to stay true to the stuff that I've got, but from a club maker point of view, we have a Project X VRTX. There's one to hit it high, one to hit it low. And they come in various weights and they come in various flexes. Something in the lighter weight, say they got like a 50 gram R flex, and I'm looking at here. They both have 50 gram R flex, and there's a 60 gram R flex in both the blue and the red. So something along that lines. It's a good feel, good shaft, and it's not over the top in price. Now you can move up. Acra has I really like their FX line, the FX3. You have three choices going along there: the high, medium, low flights, also with certain weight restrictions that are in their R flexes. Another high quality, a little more expensive shaft. Then you can get into, and I'm going to keep looking. You can get into Graphite Design, and they have from a more budgetary work, they have the Max or the Mad. I'm sorry, the Mad. And then depending on what you're looking for, if you're looking for a lower flight, then the XC, I've got it. I know that it works, or the AD, the other way around. Now, more mainstreamy kind of stuff. Another one that I wouldn't have any issue with is there's a lot going on with the Tensies right now, and with the different colors, they got the blues, the reds, the orange, the whites, and getting into something like that. But that's where I would go. Charles, no rounds. I did watch all the Masters. It was a great tournament. It was. I thought it was nice. There was some brutal weather. There was some brutal weather there in the middle, and that really is what separated the wheat from the chaff on that one. And the guys that rose to the top. I mean, Scotty Scheffler did a heck of a good job, and good for him. They're just. I'd really like to see somebody come out of this crop of golfers and just be this powerhouse. As much it would be as Tiger-esque, somebody just come out there and just be that guy that everybody's aiming for. And I like how he stayed calm through it, in the worst and the best of it. Real competitor. So very good to him. And also 14, Glenn Levitt. Okay. Oh, and we have the heads on the bench. And Robin, I think, is telling me we got shafts. So good things are happening, Charlie. There's David Jones. This is the guy I was just talking about. Jim and I, Eric and I, especially me. Eric is the guy who was the motivational speaker. Just a real good guy. Had a great time with you guys Saturday morning. Fitting was very enjoyable. Yes, I'm still smiling. Good for you, man. He was just a class. Mr. Jones there was just a class act. He was just a real good guy. It was very good. Ashley Millett. Millett or Millett? Hello from Ontario, Canada. Nice. Thank you for joining us. You got a question? Throw it out. Emmanuel, sir, how are you? Hope your day was great. Mine was with this storm, and you can see it. I'm just snotting it all over the place right now. I don't know what's come over me. Mine is crazy busy with repairs, loft and line adjustments, and regrips. Nice. So, yes, I like the video. I was kind of happy with the video too. Mrs. McGolf, if you were listening to this, can you bring me a tissue?
Ashley's drying on the rack. Ash from Canada.
Oh, Ash from Canada. Okay, you are on the rack, sir. I have a tissue. Jeez. All right, let's go back. You're drying on the rack, so I am told, and we're making it happen. They turned out good. I just got to finish the ferrules, and we're going to put some grips on. Life will be good. Manual. So, being busy, bud. Sunday we were rolling, right? We were absolutely rolling, and Mrs. McGolf decided that she's had enough of being on that scooter, and she started gripping and helped me out again. And she's a gripping machine. I'm here to tell you. Give me a second. I suppose I should have done that on mute. But she does the lion's share of all the gripping here, and as I tell folks, she does probably more than most club makers. And she threw through. She was it 3 sets, I believe. Went through 3 sets of putting some on, and I was doing some. We got 5 sets out yesterday doing that. So we wouldn't have gotten there without her help. That's for sure. All right. Yes, that's true. Krister, hey, I saw some of you hitting a driver to 300 on what was it, Instagram or yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Instagram. Krister was throwing it out there. He was looking like the consummate professional, taking that. I won't say he took a hard swing at it, but he took a swing at it. Didn't look like he was hardly giving it any effort. And doggone thing goes to a little over 300. Well done. Well done indeed. There's John. How are you, sir? Thank you for coming back. Yep, look at that. Randy the Club Maker. Hey, Winnipeg. All right, it's the Canadian edition. Well, we're at it. Big snow bomb coming our way. No golf as yet. Dang. What's up with that? And Winnipeg. I know the name Winnipeg. I just don't know where it's located. So if you give me a clue, that'd be nice to know. All right. So question, what are your colored dots at the end of the graphites represent? Spine and flow? Okay. So Randy, in a lot of different cases, different manufacturers will put different markings of where they think might be a high point, or it could just be an indicator of where they want the label to give the guy that's putting the label on where to orient the label. Now, in a lot of cases in the companies that we use, we typically get a red line and a white line, and they're normally 90 degrees from one another in order to fit. So what they're saying is one's a hard side and the next one is the second hard side. And in graphite, that's not uncommon. In a lot of cases, what I will find is one of those lines is truly your flow, after I've done a lot of measuring, and I will put my line in 99 times out of 100. It's right over top of one of those, and that's what we end up using. But that's what they're for. Now, I've seen there are some with dots. I believe, what was it? Aldila has some. Graphite Design, I believe, has them. I'm trying to think who else has them. The line, KBS has lines. Project X has lines. Acra has lines. But there are a few. And in some cases, those dots do mean that, but certainly I would check. It just makes the process that much faster for sure. And I hate to hear that snow bomb already. My goodness. But we are getting hammered with the wet. And if it was another 10, 15 degrees cooler, it'd all be snow here too. Michael Barber from the UK. Well, thank you for staying up late, Michael. Drew did not speak for a half an hour. He was mad. So, Matt, who's he get that from? Good deal. Last Friday got fitted for an Excalibur Pro TS shaft for my driver. Shaft just weighed 51 grams. Really? That's a different way of going. I'd like to see how that one works out. Well, is that the one we saw? Is that the one we saw you hitting? Also, I got to test the Crank Pro head with the shaft. I know it will be the end of the. I know we'll be at the end of the shaft. Well, good for you. Good for you. All right. I mean, yep. She got better. I think she not necessarily. If she got well, we're changing bandages every day, so I can say for certain that yes, she is getting better. Gonna go see the doctor tomorrow. Hopefully, get a clearance to put a little pressure on it, and that way she get a little bit less scootering and a little bit more walking, but more gingerly, I would hope. And we'll be in pretty good shape. But she survived all that gripping without tearing anything open, so that's always a plus. Tough cookie. There's Eric. Word Talk Productions. That's it. I remember what we talked about on that aiming to the left, and you'll be all right. All righty. My M1 440 average smash factor with the Crank Pro average 150 had. Whoa! Nicely done. Now they got to be at the same swing speed too, bud. Don't be slowing down on me. All righty. Look at that. We got Robin talking back to him. There's Charles. He did. He does. He's always kind of fancied between the. When he first started here, he was about 85 grams. And then I think he backed off to 75. 85 is a little too much, and this other was a little too light. So this would be kind of fun to see. Are there any rules of thumb that when assembling a club +1 or +1.5 in length, do you hard step the shaft or too hard step maybe consider a full flex? You know, I've always heard that when you put in that thing that it gets more flexible as you get longer. We can have a real big discussion on this one. That's a heck of a good question, Randy. So let's start off with. I'm trying to think. Do I have a golf shaft? No. All right. So we'll use this as assume this is a golf shaft. And people will tell you the reason why flex gets more stiff is because you tip on the tip section side, tip, and that means that you need more butt section side in order to, and that's where it gets stiffer, is because the stiffest part is in the butt section. Using that philosophy, if this is tipped correctly and you put this and you make this go, that the CPM number that you get will be lower. And I think let's start. Well, anyway, the more you put in here, the stiffer that it would become. So if I extended it 1.5 inches and I'm at the right tip section, extend in half, theoretically it could get stiffer, right? But when you go to put it into a frequency machine, the number is smaller, and as it should, because as we've talked about before, if you had length versus frequency or length versus CPM, and then this is your line of flex, as the length goes up, right? Wow, sorry. As the length goes up and your CPMs go out and your flex, it will be, the number should fall still on that line. All right. And I think we get mixed up in that. Typically when we go in there and I check it, it's, it depends on the shaft too. But in a lot of cases, I have found that it doesn't change. In some cases, it does go a little bit lower. They say, oh, you just got to make it stiffer. I've never prescribed to that theory. Now, can it happen? Yeah, I think it can. I do think it can happen. I think it can get softer as it gets to a point that's beyond what the thing was normally made for, right? So, what I would look at in a lot of cases, you're talking about using 355s. A good way to check in the same way is put your club together at the standard length. Don't take any out. Frequency monitor it, right? And then move it out to the right length. Frequency monitor it again. Of course, the number will go lower because it's a longer club. Go to your chart and see if the flex changed. All right. That's the same thing as I get, well, when you shorten the club, it gets stiffer. Well, no, not really. If you've trimmed it correctly, no, it doesn't. And just because it's shorter, the CPMs go higher because it's a shorter club. And that's just a function of the length versus CPMs into a flex range. Hopefully that helped. Very good. Emmanuel fit a 13-year-old Saturday, has a few junior trophies, put him in a new set of Rogue ST Max. Ooh, smoked him. Made me feel good. His family brought me in to fit him. Well, very good for you, sir. ST Max, you'll like those. Keep in mind, those things are strong. All right, Michael Barber in the UK finally went and got fit and gone. DCB, cracking irons. There we go. DCBs, deep cavity backs, slightly more forgiving, slightly more offset, but a great little iron. They are very, very, they're very, very nice. They got a great feel to them. And for a guy just needs a little bit of help, they're great. All right, Charles Bartholomew. The shaft is a beast. It had the feel of a heavier shaft, but way more stable. I was skeptical at first, but it took every swing I threw it as a champ. A shaft with attitude. There you go. You don't see Krister getting too excited about a golf shaft. I mean, he likes them and whatnot, but if he's all about that, you guarantee you that's going into a club. There it is. I thought I saw it. Sonny V. There he's back. Just back from Myrtle Beach. Round was 75 at the Pearl. All right. Good timing. The courses are just starting to open up here. Oh, perfect. So good. Well, I'm glad that you had a good time, and down there for some decent weather it appeared to be. I mean, all around the nation was like that. And you come back to some good stuff. So now you're well rested, ready to rock and roll, and they'll be knocking down your doorstep. Good for you. All right. There's Eric. He says the D9s are sharp and clean. Yes, they are. Very much so. All right. John Kelly. Hey, he's back. Did you test the new 425s? What are they like to hit? John, no, I have not. I haven't tried those. The Ping rep is in Columbus, and there's no Ping dealers that are around here. So, no, I haven't had a chance to do that. I would like to, though. They do seem to be very nice. Raymond Pina. Hello. Hello. Good. You got questions, ask around. Welcome to the channel, bud. They're a very classic look. I think Wilson really hit a home run with the look on this one. And eventually what's going to happen is they're going to have to go back to that V6 philosophy with the driver and have themselves one they're going to have to step out of the box and really, ramp one up and so they have something to go with it. James Hodge, how are you, sir? Hodges, sorry. Hello, everyone. After watching some of Amen's Corner, I think the Lady Amateurs playing Augusta was much more enjoyable. All right. Very good. Yeah, there was a lot of focus on Tiger, and I know he's been through a lot, and I know I know what he's doing, and he is one of the greatest golfers of all time. I acknowledge every bit of that. However, I like to give credit where credit is due. Yes, we need to give him credit because he was in a terrible car accident and he almost lost his leg, and he's coming back and he's playing and he's able to walk shortly a year after all that. That's pretty impressive. I give him a nod. And the fact that up until that one day that the weather got crappy, that he was virtually in the hunt. If you were at negative numbers, you were virtually in the hunt up until Scheffler decided to go crazy and go into double digits. And I think he knew his shortcomings at the end of the day, but he was powering through it just like the champion that he is, and it's all good. The thing that gives me I get a bit of a giggle the very first round. I'm listening to the radio of him finishing, and you would have thought it was Sunday, and it was Sunday. This guy was just so excited for him finishing his first professional round, and he goes, and Tiger drops that second putt for a par, and he's in 8th place. And it had such enthusiasm, you would have thought that he was winning the tournament for 8th place. Now, 8th place is very substantial, but 8th place. Anybody else on the planet, you would have never known they were in 8th place, but it's Tiger. That was funny. So, and I don't wish ill on anybody, but I'm glad that he had finished early so that the people could concentrate on Scheffler's good play. Otherwise, he would have just totally been overshadowed. I'm surprised that tomorrow or today we didn't see that Scottie Scheffler wins the Masters in tremendous fashion. Tiger finished 20-something or whatever it was. Because he's just so popular, he tends to overshadow other good play. Now, I'm glad he's out there because he moves the needle and the whole 9 yards, but let's give some credit where the credit's due. All righty. And I do like the fact, I like to see, I didn't get to see any of the amateur ladies go through there, but I imagine that would have been a lot of fun. All right. Danny Johnson, hello to you too, sir. Nick Page, what do you say, Nick? Reshafting my Mizuno MP20s, and I'm struggling to get them back to at least D1, even with 10 grams in the tip. I am only at C8. Yahoo! Wow. Well, number one, let's make an assumption on a few things here, Nick. Number one. If we're MP20s, probably we're standard weight stuff. So either a couple of things are going on. One, the club is short, or two, the grip is very large, or you've converted to a lighter shaft. Any one of those things can have a major impact on swing weight. And 10 grams to get to at C8, that would lead me to believe that, and you could have had. So Mizuno had two weights. They're called A weights and B weights. The A weights were light. The B weights were heavy. If your 5-iron is something less than 253, right, 254, 253, then you have the A weights, and there's probably no way it's going to happen. not without getting ridiculous. Again, we don't want to add so much weight that it overrides the design of the club. Now, there are ways to add that weight, but wow, that would be a little bit different. So if you had a lighter weight shaft in there, then I would suggest maybe going to a heavier weight one, and that will help you out. And it'll adjust the feel. Now, if you're using a lighter weight shaft and you're putting all this weight in it, I wouldn't get so hooked up around the number per se, particularly C8 to D0 if that's where you're shooting for. That's two swing weights and it's probably imperceivable. Now, if you're trying to get to D4, yeah, it's going to feel really, really light. But give them a swing and just see what happens first before you start looking to throw a whole bunch of extra weight. I've run into a lot of that here as of late, that people are seeing the numbers and they're freaking out. And to the point now, I'm just kind of leaving them alone. And I said, I've got your spec sheet just so you can go hit them, because it happened to me. A golfer in, again, Pennsylvania had to have a specific swing weight. And I told him that it's not going to happen. But I put all this extra weight in it and got him close, still a little bit light, but going close. And I said, you're not going to like it because it's going to be too heavy in the wrong spot. And sure enough, about 2 weeks later, he's sending them back for me to remove the weights, because it's more about how it feels, less about the number. So give him a few shots. All righty. Oh, we're in there. So Jamie likes them. Oh, good. Good. That's what we were wanting to see. Very good. It's the young man that hits a 6-iron. He hits a 6-iron like a seasoned professional. He is going to be something else, I think. We're very well accomplished. 525. Same thing, bud. I'd like to see it myself again. But yeah, I haven't been able to get out there and see it. There's a new name, J Road. How are you, Jay? Welcome to the channel. There's Nick. I like the camera, Nick. What is that you're looking at? I like the camera though. Looks good. Charles Bartholomew, the meat on those ribs looks like it would just fall off the bone. Very close, bud. Very, very close. I try to get it just about to the ragged edge and then stop. My dad and Robin like it to where you can pull the bone straight out. I think that's a little too done. So there's always that philosophical argument of which one tastes better, right? Okay. Let's see. Oh, no problem. We can do that. A lot of it has to do with how it's cooked. All right. Yeah, they are pretty good. I have to apologize for all that. Brendan actually. Well, good for him. Brendan is one of the most nonchalant golfers. I say, how far you hit it? About 300. That's pretty good poke for a kid that's 16. Yeah. Just a perfect attitude for being a golfer of that level. Steve Thorne from Saratoga. I'm going to assume Saratoga, New York. Hoorah. Did a little training up there. Hopefully it's getting warmer. All right, booked a fitting session with the same fitter. He's going to look at the iron shafts now. Shimada. Ooh. The RTI 95 and some more. Okay. At least that's what he's telling you, right? That the RTI is going to be real nice. Rapid tapers. Now, I actually have hit those. Those are it's a unique club, to be sure, unique shaft. Don't be surprised if you don't gain just a little bit of little bit of snap into the ball. David Hanner, how are you, sir? Hi from the UK. Well, thank you for staying up late. Well done, Rory. Yes, he how about that 18th hole? That dude chipped it in like a pro, right? Threw it out to the right and just watch it feed right in. Now, feeding it right in is, there's a little bit of luck involved. However, that was extraordinarily well done. And then not to be outdone, Colin Morikawa, doop, and just just slam dunked it. 2 chip ins from the same sand on the last hole. It was fun to watch, and they were just cracking each other up. All right, play the Venice Blue Iron Shaft regular. Really? I just had a customer ask me about those shafts, and I'm having a heck of a time trying to figure out where they're at. What do you think of the UST Dart? Looking for a little more control. I think there is nothing wrong with the UST Dart. All right, I really like that shaft. I really do. Man, it just won't stop. I really do like the shaft. I like the recoil dart. I've always liked recoils, particularly when they first got started. And the dart is kind of a resurgence, in my opinion, for them to claim to be a very good iron shaft, and it is. I do like it. I don't know, uh, yeah, I don't know much about the Venomous or the Ventus shaft in irons. I know about it in the driver. If it is along the same lines, it'll probably be just a hair tighter, in my opinion. The dart, I mean. Bill Winger, how are you, sir? How do you feel about the tin size shafts play on the little light on all their flexes? Do I feel that they do? No, I do not. Particularly now, the orange probably, the white probably, the blue no, and the red no. The red and the blue are probably true to flex, where the white and I believe it's the orange probably do, and that has to do with uh, the profile, because each one of those profiles is just a little bit different for a little bit different golfer, right? The white's for the more aggressive, I believe the orange as well, where the blue is for the average, and then the red is to get a little bit more height. So, yeah, they'll tend to be a little more friendlier, where the other ones will be a little bit stiffer in their profiles. All right, Jake Wilson, cheers. See you next month for a fitting. I enjoy all your videos. Well, thank you, Jake. Mark Wright, using 1-1 epoxy, having tips coming off. Looks clean on the inside when they come off. Any problems with standard GolfWorks epoxy? Well, let's see. Now, I will say I used GolfWorks epoxy for 20 years. Was it foolproof? No, I don't think any epoxy is foolproof. I thought it served me well. But, Mark, what they do have is they have the 24-hour cure, they have the fast cure, they have the cures that's in between. I particularly stayed with the 24-hour cure because I just wasn't comfortable with the other ones. When I looked at the specs, they were the same, and that kind of threw me off because I always thought the faster cures ought to have a higher break number. They didn't. Now that could be that's a really good glue. I don't know, but I just stayed away from it. And again, it served me. Now I did have some super fast stuff, and that was for putters. And putters don't receive a whole lot of torque, so yeah, I was okay with that. And it set fast, and that's what I was looking for. Now, anytime that you're seeing that, where you're seeing tips coming off, and it looks clean. I'm going to assume you're talking about like a fitting system. The inside looks clean. So if the inside looks clean, that means it's having a problem sticking to the inside. A couple of things to look at. Number one, and we'll start with the basic stuff. Make sure you mix the glue for at least 60 seconds. Right? Mix the glue for 60 seconds. And go backwards and forwards to make sure you work out all the air and make sure everything is a nice new glob of glue. Then on the inside of some of those, inside of the tips, you want to run a wire brush up and down there to give it a little bit more agitation, clean something that might be in there. Some guys that used to have this problem that we would discuss it, they were cleaning the inside of these tips with acetone, and acetone tends to eat the glue, and prevents it from bonding. So what I'm telling you is with the wire brush, that you can get in there and get it out, and you can clean a lot of that stuff up, assuming that might be in there. And then there's that. Number two, if it is like a fitting tip, or even if it's a fitting tip, I would suggest not using centering beads. Okay, make it as tight as you can, not using centering beads. If they are like adapters, like for adjustable clubs, that would go into something, say, like that. There's a piece of tape on that. Then yes, use the centering beads. And what I would do is let it set in its playing position for 24 hours before even touching it. Those are the best things I can do. But as a whole, I really liked that. I just converted, like I've said in the past, I just converted over here in the last 2 years to the 3M stuff to minimize. I didn't have a lot of failure to begin with, but I wanted that number to get even smaller. So basically, it was like this. I want to get to that. And 3M provided that. Now, they provided it at a higher cost, but that's just what it is. And because we were doing a lot of work for people that weren't local, and I didn't want to run the risk of shipping things back and forth, so we just went to that new glue. Alrighty. Charlie, when you get around to putting those irons together, absolutely check the lofts and lies and what you found on hitting that sex iron. Oh yeah, dude. That's part of the thing. That's the very last thing that we do, Charlie. Once everything's put together, everything's taken care of, then they go to loft and line machine, everything gets checked to spec and what the fitting says. Whole 9 yards. Every one of them goes through that. So yeah, that'll happen for sure. Alrighty. Can a driver face get exhausted so much that the smash factor show a lower value? The answer is yes. Even when I hit like a millimeter off center, the smash factor never goes over 145 on the TrackMan. Yes, it can, and that's been a proven thing, Krister. They've done testing, particularly on the metal. If you hit enough golf balls, it's metal fatigue, and you can do that. Now I will say, it does take a lot of golf balls to hit. I know you're hitting a lot of golf balls, but it takes a lot. And if you're hitting like range balls, it can accelerate that problem. But yeah, the answer to that is yes. And particularly with your swing speed, what it is, it certainly can happen. 5 sets in a day, that's smoking it. Well, yeah. Well, I tell you what, that doesn't happen without Mrs. McGolf helping me out. Otherwise, it's only 2, maybe 2.5 best. And she really threw out some of the grips, and that you have no idea how much easier it is when you can just keep moving and shaking, and the grips get put on by somebody who can do it. There's Nick. How are you, sir? All righty. I see Nick he's on My Golf Spy, I think. I see him out there once in a while. Just wanted to chime in. I put the new Maltby Max milled wedge together on Saturday with the Soft Step Project X 6.5. Must be some of the best wedges I've ever used. Well, cool. I'll have to check them out. I'm sure that they only come in right-handed, Nick. So I won't be able to look at them, but we used to use a lot of their wedges all the time. The black ones, I was real big with effective bounce, and it worked out pretty good. The only drawback to the club was that it had that black anodization on the outside of it, and it made the club brittle, so you couldn't really bend it without cracking or breaking it. But yeah, the milled ones, that ought to be cool. They're really regretting those TS2s that they've got. They're basically like the P790s and all the other hollow bodies. They were cleaning the house with those things. Their only regret is that they didn't make some left-handed. All right. What's Robin going to say? Charlie decided that I'd give it a shot and help out. I didn't fall off the scooter either. Hopefully tomorrow I can start walking on it. Yes, I hope so too. All right, Jake Wilson, heavier or lighter golf clubs. What are the advantages and disadvantages of both? Well, okay, so Jake, we got to kind of put this into context. Heavier and lighter, what's the pros and cons? It depends on the type of golfer that you are. All right. If you're a smoother golfer, one that doesn't really stress the club, transition is easy, there's nothing really aggressive about it, you're probably going to hate a heavy club because it's going to pull you out. It's going to pull you out of shape, and it's just going to be too much. Now, not only heavy, but even you could even go more flexible than what your swing speed would allow. That's a potential, right? The first answer in all golf questions should be it depends. Because we are all different animals out there, and as soon as I say this is going to be the way it is, there'll be somebody out there saying, "Nope, that doesn't work for me." So I got to kind of quantify the light and the heavy for you. So if you're a smoother swinger or a light transition type of person, a lighter shaft typically works best. Now, typically, and then depending on where your release is at, if you're an easy releaser, you maybe you're releasing at the ball, but you're not giving it a whole lot of effort, then still even a lighter flex in some cases. And that's so that you can still bring the club back, find your position. It doesn't weigh you one way or to another, and you can bring it around without having to heave it, right? And allow you to stay on line so you can hit a better ball. Case in point, just to get to the heavy ones, this 16-year-old that I had in here this weekend, uh, the kid was this big around. All right, he was skin and bones, loves golf, and had an actually really good swing. And he was this tall, lanky kid, almost 6 foot. I'm here to tell you, his hands would almost touch his knees. I mean, he had really long reach, and he was very aggressive. He was throwing everything he had into it, and he had these really light shafts. And in the 85 to 95 gram range. And the minute I gave him a standard weight club, all of a sudden he could find it where it was in the back and he could throw it around. I thought the weight might be a little too much, and it kind of was the 120s. And he could throw it around, and all of a sudden his dispersion went like this from being all over the map. He actually hit a little further because his quality of hit was a little bit better. However, it was probably a little too much. So I get him into the 105s to 110 range, and using a Modus 105, and all of a sudden we've got magic. So it was a little heavier, a little more players like, because he's really pulling down and he's really unloading a lot, and so we gave him more of a player shaft, not what a 95 gram would normally play, and all of a sudden he's gaining all this yardage just from qualities of hit, because the lofts are like 1 degree off, which might be worth a couple of yards, and the swing speeds were the same. So what we're seeing is a quality of hit wins the day, and that was what was happening. His quality of hit just skyrocketed, and that was because of the heavier shaft and his aggressive swing. All right, so the last bit of this is the 95 gram shafts. Not all 95 gram shafts are created equal. Mostly in steel, they tend to be butt soft and a little bit tip firm, so they can get the ball in the air, because that's why they're there. Steel shafts like the heavier versions, the 120s. However, I think they're going to make their living in the 105 to 110 range. Now, in graphite, it's kind of the opposite, because graphite being normally running in the lighter ranges, they put this more weight to it to get it to 95. Their profiles tend to stiffen up. Case in point, I'm doing some testing with Jumbo Max, and Acra has given me some 95 constant weights, which I've got here. Hold on. That I can do. All right. There we go. How's that? All righty. So a lot of the Canadians really like the Strix Online, and the ZX7. I've gotten a few sets of those to work on. I've fit them here, and it is just as the website would suggest. If you're a better ball striker, not worried about a lot of distance, has a little bit of offset, good look at address, has a thinner sole, could be for you. It has Strixon's design is it has that higher toe, and if you're not phased by that, I would certainly give them a ride. All right. Same. Okay, Seb. Well, 80, 86, so 90. At the bottom of I would still go in that same area per se, only I would go higher into the regular range. So something a little more stout, regular look is what I would look at. All right, what's the difference between a dollar taper 120 and the Modus 120? I've been waiting on my KBS's back order. I played KBS for years. I don't want to switch, but I'm still waiting. Yeah, the dollar taper they're supposed to have in in stock, so there should be coming. If it was the C taper, you'd just be out of luck for 2022. I mean, that's just what it is. They've decided not to make that, but what it would be is that the difference between the two, the Modus 120 is probably a little softer in the middle than the dollar taper. Those two actually are very similar in nature, to be honest. If you're going to ask me about the C taper, I would say the Modus would play softer. If you're talking about the actual tour shaft, I would say that the shaft would be just a slightly higher hitting, but not by much. They'd be really close. And the dollar taper is a softer version of a lot of those out there. So yeah, I think if you hit them, yeah, they'd probably both feel out pretty good. All righty. Near time to start our lobster fishery here. Ooh. All right, it's time to start. Jim was fit for a set of zip core wedges. Said I like 12-degree bounce, but he recommended a full face 9-degree 56. What's your feelings on this? Okay, so if we're talking about a low bounce. You're talking about low bounce versus a high bounce wedge. In every case, every designer will tell you bounce is your friend. And if you're a steeper swinger, if you're playing in softer sand or thicker rough, more bounce will be required. If you are playing in hard pan or you're more of a sweeper type, then yeah, you can go into something lower. And that's what I would look at. So take a hard look at the type of player you are, and we'll go from there. What are your thoughts on the super hybrid? I demoed the fourth hybrid, and the toe is really big and clunky, not eye appealing. I have 3 in the bag, Scott. That's what I think of it. Yes, it is very tall. It's not very aerodynamic. They're like a set of little mini drivers. So you can't be afraid to go get if you're a thumper, you might like it. I'm more of a sweeper, so it works out really well for me. Ben Hogan did it too. Both great competitors. Yes. Okay, a couple more and I got to go. Jim, what's your thoughts on the PXG driver, 811 Gen 4 driver? I like the look of it, Michael. I think it's cool. I like the contrasting colors. However, based on what I've only had them in the shop. I've not been able to hit them, and based on what I'm seeing on the internet, it's not a killer, right? It's just not a killer. It's not a killer driver. It's not a giant killer at all. But I mean, if you get it out there and it makes you go a little straighter, I'm all for it. Bobby Morrison contacted Wilson to see if they would if I could buy D9 heads, but they would not sell to the individual. And you would be correct, Bobby. You got to set up an account with them, and they're when they do that, they're not busting on you. They're protecting themselves. I carry an insurance policy for just such an example, and plus having the license and the whole 9 yards. But so what they're doing is they're protecting themselves. I'm glad. I'd like to have seen his face on that one. All right, okay, 2 more. Deuce K, what do you say, buddy? Using Project X 6.5 370 parallels to reshaft some Peerless PhD tour. Do I tip each shaft a 1/2 inch per iron and then butt trim? You're starting at the 2. So Deuce, I'd probably not tip trim the first 2 and then go 1/2 inches from there, and then yes, trip to length. The only reason why I say that is most of these shafts don't figure to make a 2 iron anymore. They start mostly at the 3. So don't tip the first 2 and then start in the 1/2 inch increments. All right, that's what we want to hear, buddy. Okay, Nick's a photographer. Nice. An AR7 or A7R. Nice. I like is that the battery pack at the bottom so you can keep going? Good for you. Yep. I think I can. When we go to build a driver, Bobby, I'll put it out there for you. All right, last one. Danny Johnson. Ooh, I like the new logo you got going on. What's the difference between a 40-gram shaft and a 50-gram shaft besides 10 grams? I received my new Callaway Rogue driver with 50-gram Cypher Black, which replaced the 4-gram Cypher in my Epic. Used a trade program. I have to send one back. When I purchased the Epic driver, it was fitted the recoil for 40F2. So years back. Should I make my decision based on how I hit each one? Okay, so Danny, the whole idea here is that from the Cypher point of view, it's just weight. The profile is virtually identical. It's just about weight. So if you're a smoother guy and you like the shaft, I would just stay with the 40, not the 50, and just float them around, just switch them around and stay with it. I'd switch them both out and see what you get and see which one you like the best and send the other one back. They're not going to care. As long as they get a good shaft in there, they're going to be happy. All right. Woo-wee. All righty. All right, here we go. I'm seeing a couple more as I get out of here. All right. Max. 10 is my max, James, and I really don't like doing that. I'm more comfortable not having to go any more than 6, but I do go as high as 10 if the build calls for it. Jeffrey Smith's in Portland, 4 inches. What the heck? That's what I'd be saying. Yep, hopefully we got her back, man. Thank you. Jeffrey, thank you. No, what I did is I turned around getting that doggone shaft. I pulled the cord out. Jeff, yeah, right. That's pretty good. Okay, guys, we are down to the end. Wow. There's Joe. Now I can do some ribs and brisket now, buddy. Ooh, look at that. He's back. Did you see what we put out there, bud? Okay, guys. Mike Jacobs, how much length on average does the adapter add to the driver shaft? Depends on the driver shaft, Mike, but so there's always that little bit that goes into the bottom to where the head can hang on to it. And that's normally about I'm going to say about 3/8 of an inch. But if you're looking to put a shaft together to put into a driver and you're trying to figure out the real length, just basically from the very tip of the adapter to the tip of the shaft is an inch shorter than the length that you're truly looking for. It's a good rule of thumb. All right, guys, it's 16 minutes into it, and I got to go finish those PXGs because one of the guys on here knows that I got them. Oh, my goodness gracious. So, again, from around the world, thank you guys for the questions. I appreciate it. It was a good talk. Krister, I want to see how that works out with the irons. Joe, glad to see you're back, man. All right. And all the guys from the UK and Canada, all over the US, I appreciate you guys being on. And as always, guys, like and subscribe. I'll get a video out. It won't be tomorrow because I released that other one early, but we'll go out to a little further out into the weekend and we'll do the boxes to build. So be on the watch for that one. And as always, let's see your scores. Go low.